Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellowshow. My name is Kyle. Tonight, we have Tuesday night football. We have the Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles, and we also have the Seattle Seahawks at the LA Rams. Two interesting games, playoff implications kind of in both. Washington and Philly is kind of an elimination game tonight, and Seattle fighting for their wild card lives right now, while the Rams could potentially steal the NFC West lead, I believe. So for tonight, we're just basically going to kind of just cover the news. Everything's going to be pushed back a day for this week because now that we have, typically this would be the Waiver Wire show. We're going to do that tomorrow night. So tonight's more of just like a quick pop in. Let's talk some news and some updates. I'm going to hop into a screen share here. And we'll take a peek at some of the headlines today. I'll kind of read these over here. Tampa Bay likely to place Leonard Fournette on IR, which is not great news. We're not going to see him probably until after, week 18. So playoff, he should be good to go. They decided to add Le'Veon Bell, though, to the backfield because we know Giovanni Bernard's not playing. And now Leonard Fournette. So it's going to be Ronald Jones. And then probably Le'Veon Bell is kind of the third down back. He's probably the better pass catcher. He is the better pass catcher than Ronald Jones. So it's going to be Jones likely taking the bulk of the carries with Le'Veon Bell kind of sprinkled in as a third down scat back. Ricky Seals-Jones active tonight. Curtis Samuel inactive tonight. There's a ton of inactives for Washington. That's why they are 10-point underdogs here tonight. Deonta Foreman upgraded to full participant for their game on Thursday night. Julio Jones not practicing for Tuesday here with that game on Thursday night. Cole Beasley tested positive for COVID. Marquez Valdes-Scantling also moved to the COVID list. He has a better chance of playing this week, I think, because he is vaccinated. Cole Beasley's out at least 10 days. We know that for sure. The Washington football team, they moved J.D. McKissic to the injury reserve, which is quite surprising. It took them a long time to do it. He's been out the last couple games. So that neck injury, I think he's fully healed from his concussion, but this neck injury for J.D. McKissic is a little worrisome here. So it looks like if you do have Antonio Gibson, you're going to have the backfield kind of to yourself over the next few weeks. And Garrett Gilbert, of course, is starting tonight for the football team. And then let's just take a look at some of the other news and updates. 49ers are designating Trey Sermon back from the IR. This is interesting just because we know Elijah Mitchell's dinged up. Jeff Wilson's also, I don't think he's 100%. He's playing well. He looked a lot better this last Sunday than he did before. But Trey Sermon coming back, we could see what happens there. Mike Boone activated off the COVID list. He's going to be, just a deep handcuff if you guys have Melvin or Javonte. There's the Tampa Bay news. Let me see. What's going on, Justin? It's hard to say. I'm assuming Austin Eckler is vaccinated. We did not hear anything. I don't know if he is or if he isn't. But again, with the new protocols, it's easier for a vaccinated player to return. And because he went on the list on Monday, that's like best case scenario for him and his outlook on Sunday. So we're not going to know until later in the week. So I guess if you have the ability to stash Justin Jackson, I think that's a good move. He looked really good against the Chiefs. I think he had like 80 yards on like maybe 8 or 9 carries. So he would be the primary ball carrier. I think they lost some confidence in Joshua Kelly after that goal line fumble. So it looks like if no Austin Eckler, I think Justin Jackson's the guy that you would want to start in that game. And it's against Houston. So you got to expect, if no Eckler, Justin Jackson's going to be a smash RB2 plus, maybe a top 10 running back that week. So I like the idea there. And even if he doesn't play, if Eckler does play, it's a good idea to be safe and just pick up Justin Jackson. You can always cut him later, or you could just stash him and hold him because we do know that Eckler has that little ankle thing going on. If you were to re-injure that, you're sitting on a really good handcuff for the next couple games. So I do like Justin Jackson as a stash play. Let me see what else here. There's all the inactives and actives for Washington and Philly. We already mentioned these two guys, Cole Beasley on COVID. Carlos Hyde on IR, so I guess that's good news if you do hold James Robinson. I'm not sure about the Jags schedule the rest of the way, but you can bet on James Robinson getting a ton of touches the rest of the way. Tough COVID news for Tyreek Hill. He's on the COVID list here. I'm thinking Rojo, Bengals RB, Davis on Bills, Justin Jackson. That's my order. That's basically the top 4 pickups of this week. You want Ronald Jones. You especially want Ronald Jones in standard or half PPR leagues because he's going to be the guy that leads the team in carries. They have a really good Tampa Bay schedule. The next 2 weeks is pretty juicy. Tampa Bay schedule. Let me look this up real quick for you. They're getting the Panthers and the Jets. So Ronald Jones could be a league winner. Even if you don't like it, they're going to play the Jets next week, and they are the team that allows the most fantasy points to running back. So Ronald Jones next week is going to be a really good play. And then Samaje Perine, I'm excited about him. Gabriel Davis, of course, now he's the wide receiver 2 over there. This also bumps Dawson Knox up, and then Justin Jackson. That's a great list, Justin. And then the Joe Mixon status. I haven't seen any news today. When I looked around on my injury news and alerts and stuff, it did list him as doubtful. I'm waiting for more news. They're not sure if it is a high ankle or what it is. But I would say for now, I would trend towards Mixon sitting in this one. And great, that's a great matchup. So the James Robinson show is going to be pretty good this weekend. Tyler Johnson, should I try be my 5th? I don't know. If you're looking for a 5th guy here, let me just see if I can whip up somebody else. I mean, if you're not going to use Tyler Johnson, I think there's better guys that we could look into. Whether that is Craig Reynolds from Detroit, that could be an interesting add there, assuming he's not already on a roster. Duke Johnson, I'm not saying to play Duke Johnson against the Saints, but he could be a guy that's worth a look for sure as well. And then as far as receivers go, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is going to have a good matchup next week. Josh Reynolds has been on fire. They're getting Atlanta. Some of these receivers here interest me quite a bit. Of course, AJ Green and Christian Kirk. I think I would value some of the. Tyler Johnson's a good receiver, but he's hard to trust in terms of Final Four fantasy playoffs stakes. What's going on, Harris? Should I drop Stevenson or San Francisco defense and pick up a running back? I would have to know who your other running backs are. Are you looking to start this running back? If so, I still like holding on to the San Francisco defense. They have that juicy schedule. Again, they play Tennessee this week, but they do play Houston the following week. So I think I would try to hold on to San Fran. That defense is going to be very valuable in 2 weeks. But for Stevenson, I probably see more value in getting Ronald Jones because, again, they play Carolina this week, and then week 17, they're going to get the Jets. So that's 2 matchups that you're probably going to want to start Ronald Jones. That, to me, is more value than Stevenson, who, one, disappointed us last week, and he also might be getting Damian Harris back. So I think I would go Ronald Jones, hold San Francisco. That could be the case. Let me actually look up that schedule, see what might be a good game to flex. Week 16. They could potentially flex that Buffalo-New England game. I think I'd be interested in watching that in prime time. That one seems like the best game for me. Baltimore-Cincinnati could be another fun one as well. And then maybe the Rams and the Vikings. Again, the Vikings are hanging in the NFC, so I would hope it's one of these 3 games that were to get flexed. If there was a flex, that's what I would want to see. What are your thoughts on Finn's defense versus the Saints for Week 16? That one's a tough one. I would feel a lot better if the Dolphins performed better against the Jets. They did not. They let the Jets kind of, hang around and make that a really competitive game. So I'm a little bit hesitant to start the Fins here. I think there might be some better options. I have a good feeling about Green Bay, especially because there was a rumor that Baker Mayfield might not be cleared by then, and it's a home game for Green Bay. That could be a fun defense to start here. We're waiting to see Lamar Jackson, of course. But as far as other defenses that are available, this is kind of how I ranked them. I think the Eagles defense against the Giants might actually bench Mike Glennon and go with whoever their third backup is. I can't even remember his name, but I think the Eagles would be my preferred defense this week if you had to pick one. And I ranked the Saints my second favorite defense. So if you could get the Eagles, that would be my priority. Perhaps, again, the Packers are gone. You say, okay, I'm sure the Chargers are picked up as well. Maybe I think the Broncos might be a good pick as well. But if you can get Philly would be the one. Waddle going to be solid versus Lattimore. I don't think you're going to see Lattimore too much on. If anything, Lattimore is going to be more on Devontae Parker just because he's kind of an outside receiver. So I think Waddle would be just fine. He's the slot guy for him. Tua targets him in close range. Lattimore kind of sticks to the outside. And if you think about Marshawn Lattimore, just imagine, he's usually going up against Mike Evans type receivers. So bigger bodied receivers. That's going to be Devontae Parker for the Dolphins. My other defense is the Saints. Would you still do if my other defense is the Saints? So you're probably going to start the Saints defense this week. Who did the Saints play week 17? Where are you? So New Orleans against Carolina. Okay, so I mean, you could take a stance here, Harris. You can just say, I'm going to start the Saints defense the next 2 weeks. I think the Saints are a strong play. They have some swagger after that Bucks game. I'm envisioning them as a playoff team. They should be able to stifle the Dolphins, and they should be able to take out Carolina. I do still think Tua in the passing game could do some work against the Saints defense, but if you want to make a decision on that and just say, I'm not going to bother with the 49ers, if you need the roster space, I think go for it. And then just commit and lean into New Orleans. Should I drop Parker? I also have Waddle. If you're not going to use Parker this week, I'm fine with it. Again, we kind of just touched on the potential matchup against Marshawn Lattimore. So I do think ditching Devontae Parker, it's not going to hurt you. And if anything, someone else might pick him up and try and use him, and that could be to your benefit. So if you needed a running back, I would be fine with getting rid of Parker. Again, you're going to activate Waddle, so that does make sense to me. Let me see if there's any other news I can find. And tomorrow night we'll do a full waiver wire show. I'll probably also take some start sit questions. But from man, like just the last 2 weeks, everything's been flipped upside down as far as schedule with all this COVID testing and all this bad news that we got here. So hopefully we can see some of these stars back on the field for Week 16, such as Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. So you guys don't have to worry about that. But I'm interested in Duke Johnson. I don't know what you guys think. It's going to be a tough matchup against the Saints, but Duke Johnson came in and played a lot. He got a lot of touches. He looked good. 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that was a career high for Duke Johnson. So I'm not saying I love Duke Johnson against the Saints, but Miami's going to get Tennessee Week 17. If things break right, he could be an interesting play here. But again, if you're putting in if your waivers go through tonight, I know ESPN pushed all theirs back a day. It's Ronald Jones. That's the guy you're going to want. It is against Carolina. We can look at the Panthers. Let me look at the fantasy points allowed here. Panthers defense just isn't what it was that first month and a half of the season here. They do rank pretty stout in a lot of categories here. And in terms of running back points, they are a really good team against running back, but I still think Ronald Jones, he's going to be the guy leading the carries. We're not sure if Leonard Fournette or Le'Veon Bell is going to be active for this one. So I'm not too scared about this red matchup for Ronald Jones. Who's your tight end pickup of the week? Hear me out. I think it's Evan Ingram. It really depends on who that quarterback is. But Evan Ingram at Philadelphia, I'm playing the numbers here, and I just know Philadelphia is the worst team against tight end. They allowed the most receptions, the most yards, and they've allowed the most receiving touchdowns to tight ends. There was a little bit more effort to get Evan Ingram the ball last week. Again, it really depends on who the quarterback is. Why can't I think of the Giants quarterback here? It's really bugging me. I can't even remember his name. Jake Fromm. So Jake Fromm's going to come in here. I don't know if that's a good thing for him. He might be pummeling, the short area targets. So perhaps he could benefit. But otherwise, if you want a little bit more, I think a better play is probably Cole Comet. And Komet's going to be going against Seattle. Seattle is one of those teams that does allow a lot of tight end points here. They've allowed 8 touchdowns on the year, a handful of receptions. Only 3 teams have allowed more receptions to the tight end than the Seahawks. So it looks like a good play for Cole Comet. Again, he was the leading receiver last night for Justin Fields. Everett's interesting, but I think if I'm going to pick my guy, it's probably Cole Komet. Perhaps it's Jared Cook. I don't know if he's out there for you. Zach Ertz would be the obvious call, but I'm probably looking at Cole Komet as the guy. And then for some reason, James O'Shaughnessy had 10 PPR points last week. It wasn't sexy, but he got enough work to do the job. So he's an interesting tight end as well. And these are just updates from last night's game. I just want to see if there's any news from yesterday that I might have missed. Last night's games, kind of whatever. I think tonight's games are going to be a little bit more fun. I wish they spaced them out. I don't know why they're starting a West Coast game at 7. They could have pushed it back like another hour or so, but we'll see. And yeah, so the Elijah Mitchell news we're watching for that. They're going to play on Thursday. He's kind of 50-50 up in the air for that. So I do think Jeff Wilson's probably in line to start here, but we'll see. We'll see about that. Do you think Harrison Butker will clear COVID protocols? Good question. He's up right here. It says if he's vaccinated, we do not know. It's hard to say, especially with not knowing if he's vaccinated or unvaccinated. I hope that news comes out eventually. But at the moment right now, if I had a kicker who was on the COVID list here, I wouldn't go out and waste any free agent claims or anything on that. You can always just add a guy for free. And if you're looking at a potential kicker for this week, if you needed to add a kicker, perhaps you're looking around here. Maybe the Philadelphia kicker at home against New York. That could be kind of fun. The Chargers kicker at Houston. That's probably a pretty good play. I think that's Badgley. And then maybe one of these Chicago or the Seattle kickers could be busy that day. And then perhaps Denver or Las Vegas. So if you need kicker help, we'll get to it later. But just don't drop Harrison Butker. You're going to want to keep him in your bench. What do you guys need for tonight? I just have a slight need for Antonio Gibson to do well. But other than that, I do have a couple leagues where I am in the final four already because of buys, so we should be in good shape. But I'm just hoping for good football tonight. I'm curious about this Washington game. We got some good things moving here already. These games are going, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go watch some of these football games. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Peace.